Hello and welcome everyone to this transmission on the alchemy of grief. First of all, for the people who have worked with me, they already know, but for the newcomers, I like always to begin by centering space and just coming inwards. So I invite you to get comfortable, whether it's sitting up or lying down. It should be around an hour or so. And if you can't stay, it's okay. I invite you to just open your heart, closing your eyes, breathing in deeply, and allowing the energies to move through you. Allowing your heart to receive whatever wants to come up. It feels like we are moving through very intense times as a collective. We are facing a lot of death and grief. And not necessarily physical death, but there's a lot of death of identities, of ideas, of paradigm, and a lot of emotions come up because it's confusing at times. There is a lot of lineage grief that is also wanting to come up, to be transmuted, to be integrated, to be revered, and to be acknowledged. And that always feels challenging because we don't always know or can differentiate whether it's ours, if it belongs to the collective, if it belongs to our grandmothers. Where do we place it? And grief, as I'm going to explore throughout this transmission, is not single layered, right? I think is, in my experience, and I always speak from my experience, and I always bring in my own way of embodying, right? Not only the energies, but the initiations as well, and the way that I walk my path. In my own experience, grief is one of the most complex states of consciousness because it's not an emotion. It's not unilayered, right? It's not sadness or rage or even joy. It's not. It feels like all encompassing, and most times we are accustomed to the way in which grief is addressed is not necessarily multifaceted, right, and multidimensional. There are a lot of modalities that can address grief, but in my experience, nothing touches on the spiritual and the energetic aspects of it. And for me, that's one of the most important aspects of grief, because it's the outermost layer, right? We are a spirit having a human experience, an embodied experience. And so when that field of energy, when that spiritual being that we are and that we share with everyone else gets disrupted, all of our experience as humans get disrupted as well. So it's like a ripple effect, right? And right now there's a lot of stones being tossed in the water, so there are a lot of ripples that are going through the collective. And that's why I said it's difficult to differentiate whether this grief is mine. If you haven't experienced a recent loss, it doesn't matter. It's going to come up, and it's going to stir the water, and it's going to make you feel it. It's impacting us all because we are going through a major transition. And for me, honoring that spiritual and energetic experience of grief has become one of the most important aspects of it. And then the last layer, of course, which is the physical body, right? the nervous system? How do we cope humanly with the amounts of grief that we are experiencing? Because it's very dysregulating, it's very challenging, and it's very intense. And as women, we take on a lot of it because we are connected to the womb, the cosmic womb, the cosmic vacuum, where everything and nothing exists all at once. And so this grief for what was, there is grief for what is coming and what we're leaving behind, because you cannot go into a new stage without leaving the last one behind. And that is also grief that also confronts us. And it's like, on one side we're really happy, we're really excited to moving into this new age where, you know, spirituality and energy converge, and we no longer have to hide or have to choose, right, between living one way or another, like say our mothers, where most women that had a connection to spirit or to energy were like ridiculed, and there was everything was questioned. When women said, but my intuition, that's woo-woo, like nobody cares about that. No, now it's like, okay, so listen to your intuition, you know, follow that it's telling you for something, you have inner wisdom. But at the same time, we have been conditioned, right, from childhood to believe a certain paradigm, to follow certain rules, and now those rules are caving, they are vanishing, and that's leaving us in a state of in between. And that in between stage is heavy because there is a lot of possibility, but also there is a lot of unknown. And honoring the unknown is something that perhaps our ancestors did like hundreds of years ago, but it hasn't been done for many generations. And so that uncomfortableness in our bodies, you know, it's like, ooh, I'm in this stage, like, I don't know what I'm doing, my career, motherhood, widowhood, you know, all these transitions. And it takes time for our bodies to settle, because energy takes time to manifest into the 3D, and also the path for it to become clear. And that in between feels daunting and can be very challenging. So what I'm being called to do, or what I've been shown that is missing in this space, is that holding, that sense of it's okay to take your time, and there is a container, there is something that's going to hold that sacredness of becoming. Because doing it alone, doing it on a day-to-day, you know, it feels right down scary sometimes. It's like, who am I? Who was I? Who am I becoming? And that unknown can feel very daunting. And like I said, I always speak from my own experience, from my own, the places that I've been and the way that I've gone and come back. I don't speak from, you know, theories or ideas. These are things that I have walked through, and that's why I feel confident in that this is what is needed, right? A container that can sustain the becoming. When I talk about grief as a multidimensional experience, it can sound very complex, but it's not. It's actually simple. If you think about it like an eggshell, right? And what grief does is that it cracks that shell, and it exposes our most vulnerable parts, which are our psyche and our emotions. And it leaves us open to a lot of external influences, but also a lot of subconscious or unconscious patterns that arise within us. Something that was very, very well hidden, right? Like childhood or even inherited traumas, or, like I said, experiences. And grief can become your greatest initiation, because it is the deepest, darkest night of the soul. It pulls you under and forces you to see all the places where you have neglected or betrayed yourself. It leaves no room for nuances. It leaves no room for doubt. It forces you to look in the mirror in all the places that you didn't even know you had to look, that you weren't aware of those spots that were there, right? Because we all have blind spots, and it doesn't really matter how long we've been doing this spiritual work. There's always something that feels like it just goes right through, right? But grief, and that is the beauty, that is the gift, that is the nectar of grief, because it leaves you without choice. It forces you to see those spaces, those places where you have abandoned yourself, where you have betrayed little aspects, even if you thought it was out of love, even if you thought it was out of doing the work itself sometimes. And excavating that and being alone in that retrieval can feel overwhelming, because sometimes it's all encompassing. It leaves no space, no room, no time. It feels like it's coming from everywhere. It's a huge wave that crashes and takes you under sometimes. And discernment becomes key in that, allowing for the current to take you without drowning, but also knowing when to swim up. Knowing when, okay, I need respite, I need space, and I need to honor that space. And it's okay if I take time to embody, time to integrate everything that I'm feeling, everything that I am facing, everything, because we are receiving a lot as a collective and as individuals and as women. So there is a lot of shadows that are coming up. There is a lot of unfinished, unresolved things that are coming up for humanity in general. And taking on that work is not optional anymore. It's like, if you have been called to do some inner work, it's because you're ready, you're prepared to take that on board. And so when you are prepared, it's going to keep coming at you. And it's not something that we can will our way out of. There's a reason why we came at this time, and not 50 years ago or in 50 years from now, but at this particular point of transition. Shadow work is something that is like, we've all heard about it. A lot of people speak about shadow work. And grief is one of those initiations that doesn't give you the choice to do your shadow work. It just forces you to do it. And if you don't, you risk. And I am careful when I say the word risk or dangerous. The danger is becoming either accustomed to the intensity, or simply becoming overwhelmed with the intensity of the experience, because it leaves us, again, unprotected, open, raw, right? And something that I've been exploring a lot is our own relationship, our continuous relationship with spiritual entities and spiritual beings. And by that I mean angelic, but I also mean, archontic. For those who are familiar with Gnosticism, if you're not, I mean dark entities, right? And grief opens you up in such a way that it leaves you vulnerable to all sorts of things. And I've been very careful in the past to, not talk too much about it, because it may sound, again, like, but you're exaggerating, or you're trying to scare people. And it's not about scaring anyone, but humanity in this transition, like I like to think about it as we are becoming teenagers, right, as a collective. And as teenagers, we have to become aware of what we are facing, what life is all about, right? If you have teenage children, or if you can remember when you were a teenager, right, you start taking risks and you are told about the risks, and okay, you can go on your own, but remember, don't talk to strangers and don't accept things from people you don't know, these kinds of things. And I feel like right now we have to become aware of the energetic currents that are around us all the time. But when we are in this vulnerable state, it becomes even more important to be aware, and discernment, dropping in and really feeling in your womb, in your heart, in your third eye, what is this? What does it feel like? Should I do it? Should I not? What am I allowing to come into my space without even realizing, right? For those of us who are around little children, we can quickly see sometimes we take them somewhere and there's a shift in the energy, and the child sort of syncs with that energy and starts behaving odd. It's like, as a mom, like, oh, this is not, my child is, obviously connecting to an energetic something that I don't like. That's okay. It's true. We are antennas. And children, because they're so new, their antennas are wide open. And so they're always picking signals up. And when we're grieving, our antennas are also wide open. And so we're always picking signals up. And it can be very confusing. And it can be very overwhelming for that reason, right? Because we're bombarded with all these things from the news, from our neighborhood, from our families, from our partners, from our own lineage, from ourselves. It's like, oh, there is a lot. And centering, cleansing, or coming back to your center, to yourself, to who you are, can be very challenging and very disorienting sometimes. And the idea is not to scare anyone, like to say, oh, there's entities everywhere. No, there are. But it's not about scary, or it's not about being afraid. Quite the opposite. It's about understanding and about becoming aware, and this responsible adult, right? If we go back to the teenager example, it's like we're growing our consciousness around the energetic and spiritual truth of ascension, right? Everyone wants to ascend. Everyone wants to expand their consciousness. Yeah, but the stages, the in-between, it means that we become more open to everything that is out there. Everything that's already there. It's just that we have been oblivious to it, and now we are becoming aware of it. And if we become aware of it, it means that we can choose. And so I feel like this transmission has that intention, the intention to inform us of the truth of what transition actually means. It's going through a dark tunnel. There is light on the other side. And what this transmission wants to do is give you a flashlight and help you turn it on so you can have a flashlight while you're traversing this tunnel. Because you can't bypass the tunnel. There's no way. We are in it. The only way that we can remain in sovereignty and remain in power and remain centered and remain having a joyful, happy human experience, because who came here to suffer? Nobody. We chose our own lessons. Yes, pain is part of being human. The Buddha says there's 3 noble truths, and living is painful, period. There's no way around it. You pinch yourself, ouchie, it hurts, it's painful. There's no way around it. But suffering is optional. And so this relationship that we have with our human experience, it also is part of this, right? It's part of this illuminating what's in the transitional space that we're in. And so the point is to become aware again of these interactions that we have on a spiritual and energetic level at all times. But because we're in the deep of it, it's becoming even more evident, more in your face, right? Like before, maybe you could just go on about your life and not pay too much attention. If you didn't, out of sight, out of mind, you don't think about it, it doesn't matter. Now it keeps coming back at you. It doesn't give you the opportunity to look away because it's everywhere. So how do you look away from something that it's everywhere? You can't. Because if you go inwards, it's there. If you go around, in your environment, it's there. If you go to the collective, it's there. If you go to the news, it's there. So we're being bombarded and faced and forced to be faced with our wounds, with our losses, with our deaths. And that brings a lot of grief, a lot of pain. And how do we manage? It's not about coping, it's about managing, accepting, understanding this is a part of the deal. But how do we move through it in a way that doesn't become a prison, that it doesn't become, again, suffering experience? Because it can be heavy and it can be challenging to navigate. So I'm going to guide us all through a grief release meditation, but also a nervous system regulation, because this is a tool that for me is important to bring it down, right? To make it tangible. How does this work help me in my day-to-day? So once again, I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes, lie down. If you want to turn off your cameras, lie down, maybe drink some water. Or just sitting up, whatever feels most comfortable to you so that you can receive the work. Breathing in deeply and bringing your attention to your third eye with that cool air that comes in through your nostrils, driving your attention into your third eye, that space between your eyebrows. And feeling it become luminous. It might warm up or it cool down. Knowing that it's being activated by your own awareness, just by being there consciously, visiting this space, this energetic point in your physical body. And this intuition, this point of light, becomes activated. It can become more warm or more cool or more intentional, bringing the energetic currents into that third eye, that space. This superpower, right? This third eye, this inner wisdom, this inner vision that is going to guide you to the space, to the place where the most intense grief, where that energetic current of rage, because grief is rage, grief is pain, grief is sadness, grief is a lot of emotions, not just one. Again, grief is a state of consciousness, an energetic vibration, right? That can either pull you under, pull you down, or it can propel you up. And so, but the first thing is to become aware. Where is it? So by activating this third eye, right, the pineal gland, this space in the middle of your head, between your ears, between your like your frontal and your occipital. From there you can see it like a light bulb maybe going off, a specific color, a specific resonance, specific vibration, a specific sensation within your own physical head. And from there, we're going to like let it loose, right? Let that light, that inner vision, let it go to the space within you or even around you where your deepest, strongest, more profound grief is located right now, right this moment. It could be your shoulder blade, could be your mid back, could be your heart. It could even be your head, like just stay there in your head because it's your mind, right? Where is your deepest grief at this particular moment in time? Just allow it to drop. It can go to your belly, your womb, it can go to your hips. It's showing me someone's feet. Your throat is just allowing this inner guidance to take you to the space that needs the most releasing right now. And if this space happens to be on the back of your body and you can't reach it, you can't touch it, just locate it on the front of your body and just reach it energetically from the front. So if it's on your low back, you can just, put your hands, your tips, the tips of your fingers on your womb, for example. And just breathe in super, super deeply and consciously take that oxygen to that space where the tips of your fingers are, where that deep grief is located right now. And everyone is muted, so just say it out loud. I see you. I feel you. I honor you. Grief yearns to be witnessed, to be acknowledged. And pushing in just very slightly with the tips of your fingers. Ask your grief, what are you showing me today? And it can bring you another emotion, fear, judgment, rage, sadness. Whatever it brings you, it's okay. Just allow it to. And if it doesn't feel safe, it's okay. You can say, you're welcome here. By allowing this space, you are allowing this energy to move through you. Once you have received that answer, you can ask, grief, what can I do to release you today? This particular grief in this particular point of my body, which is shielding or wanting to show me this emotion or this thing that happened or this person. What can I do today for you? And you might get a scream, a hug me, write a letter, dance naked in the woods, burn a fire, burn it all down, rest, sleep, cry, watch a movie, go for a walk, it doesn't matter. Take a shower. Smell the flowers. Each person's grief is going to have a different message for them. You can write it down, or you can just remember it. But remember to honor it today. And now I want you to take your right index and middle finger and put it on the crown of your head. Just leaving it there and leaving the other tips of your fingers where they were originally, where your grief is. And imagining or knowing or sensing that with your middle and your index finger on your crown, you are opening up a space for this energetic current to move through you. You can also consciously open up your root chakra, which is located at the base of your column or your perineum, or if you're standing up or you're sitting up, and your feet are on the ground, you can also visualize that on your soles of your feet, and just allowing this energetic current to move through you very gently, very softly, like a soft trickle of water, right? Because this is what happens very often when we feel saturated, right, by the waves, by the coming and going of energies, of emotions, of intensities with grief, is that it gets lodged somewhere in our bodies, and then it's difficult for it to move because it's dense, right? It's a dense energetic current. And when it finished mobilizing, you might be very sensitive and quickly realize that it leaves a hollow, it leaves a space, you know? So here is where another somatic exercise comes in very handy. Just put your opposite hands on your shoulders like you're hugging yourself, and just say out loud, I have you. Because this emptiness, this hollowness, this space inside of you feels very vulnerable. Sometimes it's been used to the grief being there for a long time. And so it's, all of a sudden there is this space in there. It might feel, ooh, what is this? This is uncomfortable. So just hug yourself and say it out loud, I have you. Reminding yourself that you always have your back. Like, doesn't matter what life throws at you. You're always there for you. You can always count on you. And if someone knows how strong and capable you are, it's you. And if someone has taken you out of the strongest, darkest, most complicated situations, it's you. And feel that energy, that enveloping of yourself, that cloak that says, I have got you. You are the best of you. your expression. You are the most capable to carry yourself through this and through everything that you have already carried yourself through. And I always feel called to allow whatever words want to come through me to speak to myself freely while I am like wrapped around myself, right? And another thing that I do is move my eyes from left to right, while I'm speaking these positive affirmations and just holding myself. This is called havening. You are your safe haven. There can be a hurricane of zombies out there. It doesn't matter because you are there for you. And grief is confronting, right? If you've lost your husband, if you have lost your job, if you have lost your home, if you have lost yourself, your old identity, is like, oh, now I'm all alone. Yeah, but you have yourself. You're not alone. That growing up of your own self, like this shedding of the skin and growing it back again, that's the in-between space, right? That is the daunting phase. That is the scary bit. But again, nothing and nobody is more capable of carrying you through this hardship than yourself. Because your whole life experience has prepared you for this. Because for one reason or another, you chose this experience at this time, and you trained for this marathon all those years before. And sometimes we're like, it's been 30 Ks, I don't want to run the last 10 Ks. It doesn't matter. You trained for these. So rest, take your time, drink your Gatorade, your electrolytes. Pick yourself up. There is no rush. It's not a sprint. When I used to be a weightlifter, I would always say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's the truth. And there is no finish line. There's no rush because there's no finish line. It's all in our heads. It's all in our ego. And that is confronting in itself. That is part of that dark night of the soul where the ego gets crushed and gets confronted again with all the ideas that we have to let go of. All this illusion, right? I think that grief, death particular, physical death particularly, and I believe that all of us that are here have experienced physical death, like of someone important to us. Very important. I mean, parents, partners, children, etc. So we know nothing confronts you more to control and makes you drop that ultimate illusion than physical death. So coming to terms with that reality that everything outside of our physical self and our energetic self, it's absolutely out of our control. Everything. And that can feel scary. That can feel daunting. That's why reminding ourselves that we are capable of carrying us through is very important. And we're going to continue being confronted. So having these, reminding ourselves, I'm your safe space. You are my home. My home is not the house that houses me. It's myself, my body, my experience. And this exercise can take, at the beginning it takes much longer, like, because the nervous system is really constricted, it's really like in flight or fight, right? In this sort of like, no. But, it's scary. And then with time, we start regulating because we braced for impact, right? And then our muscles soften, our nervous system comes back home. And in Grief Alchemy, which is, I want to talk about it at the end, but I'm just going to drop it in here, it's part of the steps, down regulating and learning how to not become eternally regulated. Like, that's not human, right? That's not realistic. We're going to be challenged, we're going to have situations, we're going to face things either at work, at home, with our partner, with our children, with life, with the garbage man, whatever. And it's not about bypassing spiritually or emotionally or mentally, no. It's about allowing and releasing without becoming, this receptacle of everything and trying to hold that everything in, and then what happens? You collapse or you feel overwhelmed. It's about learning how to, flow, allow these emotions to flow within you so that you can come back home and feel safe and feel contained and feel capable and feel strong in your own foundation. And your body is also going to give you cues. Like one day, when you're locating your grief on your knees, for example, like I feel grief on my knees right now. And it might be quick. It might be this sense of, you walked, too much yesterday, for example. And the grief is related to the fact that because my husband died, now I'm the only one that can carry my daughter when we are out and about. And so my knees hurt. And so this grief is reminding me of that, right? This pain on my knees. It feels very unrelated, but if I go inwards, my body is telling me, there is this sense of I feel alone in facing this reality. But the releasing is quick. It's like, okay, so it's done. But other days is going to be something soul crushing, something so immense, so difficult, so big, that is going to take me a lot longer. But this is not going to come up right away the first or the second time you do this exercise, because your nervous system is not going to allow you, and because spirit and your own inner wisdom is not going to allow you to face something immense if you're not ready for it, right? There is this sense of, again, wisdom and inner knowing of how much we can take at a time. And healing is not the absence of pain. Healing is the becoming, right, of being able to process the amount of pain that we carry, and relearning to live in joy. Because when you've experienced something so traumatic, it's just difficult to accept the joy of life, because you're constantly bracing. It's like, when is it going to hit me again? And healing is not, being in nirvana on earth. There is no such thing. It's about being strong and resilient internally enough to allow the currents of the pain, of the anger, of the resentment, of the doubt, all of those negative emotions that are lodged or related to grief, to pass through, to be carried without them becoming attached to us or us becoming attached to them. And then, once they have passed, once we have released them, we can begin to engage with other emotions, with other possibilities. Because if our glass is full of sewage water, We first have to empty it, right? To allow joy in, to allow acceptance, to allow faith, to allow all the positive things that we can experience in life. Love, laughter, wonder. But first we have to empty it. But first the glass has to feel safe. Because if it doesn't feel safe, if it's all it's known, it doesn't matter if it's been 5 years, 10 years, 5 months. The experience of grief is so all-encompassing that it can become an identity. That's why I don't call myself a widow. I am a widow. I don't. Because I don't want that. You know, neuro-linguistic programming talks about language. And what we say, what we repeat, is what we become. You know, there's a lot of people who talk about in the stillbirth world about, oh, there should be a word for the parents who have lost children. It's like another label. No, don't. It's already intense and it's already sad and it's already heavy enough. Do not give me another label for it. You know, you could say that I'm neurodivergent. But I don't say I have ADHD. What for? That's another label. I feel like it reminds me. It carves down that neural path again and again and again and again. It reinforces something that I really don't want. And it's not that I don't want it because I'm messy and I can't stand my own mess. No, because there's a lot of negative energies, right? A lot of baggage attached to that label of ADHD. And so I just say that I'm spicy, or that I'm messy sometimes, or that the energies that I'm channeling at the moment are conflicting with my ideal space. And that is true as well. And that is part of the discernment. What are we channeling constantly as women? You know, and as humans, you know, we have our antenna, but as women, we have a womb, and like I said, it makes us more receptive. So a key takeaway for me is discernment in this time is very important, and awareness of the fact that we are traversing this tunnel and there's all sorts of energies that we are constantly picking up on if we are not in understanding of what's around us. I don't think this is spoken about at all. And it's part of what I've been instructed, and I'm working on a podcast that specifically speaks about our mediumship as human beings and how we're constantly channeling energies without even being aware. Why? Because we have to become aware, because we are growing up, and growing up means more responsibility. And so this exercise that we did, I invite you, I'd encourage you to do it whenever. If you can do it every day, if you are in the depths of grief, if you are in that trench of space where you just feel the loss on your day-to-day, if it's something that you're carrying, then do it every day, every morning or every evening, to release, or every morning and every evening, like to release yourself and go to sleep and rest and, you know, regenerate properly, because our energies are being drained left and right. And in the morning, so you don't carry it with you, right? So that you can come to center and say, all right, I release you. Because again, one of grief's most biggest desires, I think, is acknowledgement. It's like, you're there, I see you, and I allow you to be carried away by the magnetic current of the earth and the electric current of the heavens, you know, spiritual energy, and just restore your own central channel and allow yourself to be free of this burden. Because it's not even yours. Even if it's yours, it doesn't belong to you. The experience of losing my husband is not something that happened to me. It happened through me. It's happening through me. It's reshaping me. And if you allow it, I'm not going to say it's joyful. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, it's been so blissful. No, it's been the most painful experiences I've ever had to deal with. But if I'm married to the pain of that experience, then how is it being positive for me? How is that doing anything for me? It's doing nothing. It's quite the opposite. It's destroying me. And I don't want him to become my destroyer. He's my soulmate. I want him to become, part of my future in a way that is edifying for me and for our daughter. And so every experience of grief that you had has the potential to do the same for you. And that's not to minimize your pain or your experience. Quite the opposite. It's so impactful and so profound that it has to mean something other than destruction. It has to be so powerful and so potent and so all-encompassing that it obliterates your world, because your world cannot survive in what it's coming the way it was. Because if you're here in this masterclass, it's because you're called to something greater, something bigger, something larger than yourself. You are in refinement. And so, as are we all, right? In different measurements. But I know that this path that I've walked is not for everyone. Because not everyone takes the steep road. Some people rather go around and around and around. I don't. I like going from A to B, right? It's super steep, it's super difficult, it's super tiring, it's super painful. Yeah, and I'm going to guide a lot of people, and I'm going to have the honor to walk with a lot of women. I know it. So I cannot allow it. And probably you do too, and that's why you're here. You are a leader within your community, in your own value, in your own right. It doesn't matter where you are right now. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here. Because this work is not for the fainted heart. I think that's the word. This work that I do, the work that I carry, the medicine that gets carried through me, the energies that I have the capacity to withstand, to sustain. I am nothing. I'm a channel. But I know the caliber of the energies that I can allow, right? And so that's why you're here. You are undergoing your own initiation, each one of us. And so I want to gift you, right? I said that I was going to give a gift, like gift something to the women that showed up live. And so starting a private community has been a dream of mine for a long time. I've been in this grief space, accompanying women officially, you could say, for 2.5 years. And it's been the most meaningful work that I have ever done. And I've done a lot of things, but seeing women flourish and become, or being in the work of becoming who they came to this earth at this time to be, has been absolutely a blessing, and I'm more than honored. And offering a private community for these women has been, again, a dream of mine. And so I have a school now. For those of you who are not familiar, School, SKOOL, it's a platform, it's a private platform. And in there I'm going to have different modules that are going to open up over time. And I'm also going to have special prizes for women who want companionship through these experiences that they're going through of grief retrieval, grief alchemy, of becoming, of being, of flourishing or blossoming into the next stage. By all means, it's not going to be over, because like I said, it's life. And to the people, to the women that came live, I'm going to gift you the first month. So I wrote down your names. There's not hundreds of you, so I can email you and send you the invitation. All you have to do is accept it, create an account with school. It's going to be free. And after your first month, if you want to stay, it's going to be 25 bucks American dollars a month. But I'm going to make sure that it's absolutely worth your investment. There's already meditations, there's already grief circles that I've done in the past that I've uploaded. And throughout the month, the idea is to have 2 monthly live circles like this, right? So that we can come together, talk, bring our own intentions, so that, you know, we can talk about them publicly. You don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable, but again, it's going to be a private community, and the point is that having someone that is on your same wavelength through this stage feels very, very supportive. And I cannot be there 24/7, even if I wanted to, because I'm human, but having one another in this private space, I think is super conducive for sharing. I'm also going to be having a paywall on my Substack, but everyone that's on the school community will still receive my Substack as well, even if you're not, you know, subscribed to that. And again, 2 monthly circles and other meditations and other resources. I mean, most of you have worked with me, you know that I love sharing. This is my soul's work, right? So there is no gatekeeping, right? And for me, the only reason, again, why I've always wanted a private community is because Facebook offers a lot, but there's also, like, you know, a lot of things that some people do not align with. And if you are in this container, you know that all the other people that you are talking with, all the other women, because I don't work with men, all the other women that you're talking with are on your same, are of your same ideology, right? And are on your same wavelength and soul language and resonance. And if you're very sensitive, you've noticed, you know, when you're on WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups, there is this very thin thread of your energy that comes and goes into that group, yeah, into this Facebook group or this WhatsApp group. And not all the time this feels productive. Yeah, not all the time this feels like it's nourishing, like it's supportive. You know, a lot of times, particularly grief groups, can be very re-victimizing. And this energy, this current, sometimes is like, oh, I can feel it leaving me and not nourishing me. And we want to be nourished. We want to receive more than what we, you know, release or give out in the world. Not because we're taking, but because we are all constantly receiving from source. And so we want to make sure that we're nourished the same way that we are nourishing. We should not be giving more than what we're receiving. That's self-care, right? Even in the airplanes they say, please put on the mask, the oxygen mask, first yourself and then help someone else. So for me, having a private space, a private community feels necessary and it feels important. So again, the women who showed up live, they're going to receive this invitation, and all you have to do is accept it. The first month is going to be free, and then onwards it's going to be $25 US. If you choose not to stay, I'm not going to be offended, but I'm just going to ask you to tell me, why did you choose not to stay? Why? Because I love learning. I want to refine my offerings, and I want to give what I wish I had, but I also am just one person. So having other people's perspective, it helps me grow. And I take any and all comments with an open heart. I don't take it personally, quite the opposite. And so, yeah, my main goal is to be able to hold as many women as possible who I can communicate with, right? Because there's also this language, I don't want to say barrier, but it can be, right? So I want to be able to serve all the women who are ready to receive the medicine that I am fortunate enough to channel. So also if you invite other women, you know, I would be more than honored to hold them too. And I feel like this is the most practical, right? Practical way that it can be done. Because for as much as I would love to do 100 million one-on-ones, I just don't have right now, because I'm also in transition myself. But I was told not to wait. Like, don't wait until you've landed back in the nest. You know, back home in Chile. I'm in transition in Mexico right now. But, you know, there's no perfect time. There's no perfection. There is a, you know, like those triangles that they put in construction work outside. Like, we're working for you. So I'm working for you all, and I'm working for humanity, and I work for God, most importantly. And if the big boss says do it now, I'm just going to do it now, and it will serve whoever it's supposed to serve. And if it's one woman, then I'm already happy for it. And if it's 100, then I'm just as happy, right? The ripple effect is going to get whoever needs to be touched by this work, whoever is ready to be touched by this work. So for the women that came live, again, I already took down your names. Thank you so much for joining me. I really always feel you. I feel the energies. I feel the, you know, the eagle's eye, that energetically you're looking at my field, and my field receives you before. And I'm so honored to be a part of each one of your journeys, because I know where you are, because I feel it, right? And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I will be sending another follow-up email just to give you more details that I don't want to get into, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. But what it's like to work with me one-on-one. I'm also going to be doing a mediumship for the bereaved course, and this mediumship for the bereaved is specifically to get in touch with the souls of your loved ones who have already left this plane. And the idea is, because I'm a medium, right, and I know the difference when I connect to a sitter's grandmother of someone who I don't know. I know where the connection comes from, and I can tell the difference than when I'm talking to my husband. It comes from a different space. And so there's nothing out there like this. Everyone teaches you to speak to the sitter's grandparents, for example, but nobody teaches you how to speak to your loved one. And if it's a baby, if it was a child, a stillborn like Mayarati, you can also speak to them. And again, it's a different communication. It's different channel, because they didn't have a human life. Like, you know, if they were stillborn, they were only in the womb, so they didn't have experiences and so on. So there's a lot of cosmic information that a lot of people are not ready for. But if you have a star baby and you know, then you know. It's really magical. It's really soothed my heart. And again, it comes from a place of service. It's what I wish I had at the time, even though I already had my mediumship, and it helped me a lot, but now it's been refined, and it's like blew my mind. Yeah, so I'm going to send you all the details of that. And if you have any comments, I'm going to finish the recording, and I'm going to leave open mic for any questions. Just, I don't like recording people, because it's just, you know, it's my policy. In the private community might be different, but this is going to go to YouTube, just so you're aware of it. So that's why I also rather wait until the end. So I really do appreciate you for staying here an extra 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to pause the recording now.